welcome to the show today, Green Spring. Today is a happy day for Avon and I because exactly 1 year ago today we started our little tradition of talking about movies here on the show, right?
Yep.
And I think we've got another Halloween-ish sort of topic.
Well, you know, it's on Villains, which is anything evil and, you know,
So
what
I
makes a
think
good scary movie a good scary movie.
Exactly. It fits with Halloween. I think that everyone's already noticed. I think we should just point out that, yes, you and I are in costume.
Are we?
Let's not give away who we're dressed as.
All right.
Okay, we'll let them guess, and maybe when they come trick-or-treating later, which will be explained in a little bit, maybe they can come by and tell us who they think we are. Hint is that both of us are characters that he and I have discussed on our previous shows together.
Ooh, that's a good point.
So that's one little hint. Now, my goal today, during all of this, when I decided to pick out this costume, it's all leather, and I'm not going to try and die of a heat stroke before this show is over, so I'm going to take the gloves off now and put the hood down, and we're just going to try and cool off here a little bit.
We know I'm a hero, so I would save you.
Yeah, there you go. And you're going to tell us about your really, really stupid first pick.
It's not stupid, but first let me ask you a question of what makes a good villain?
Yes.
What makes a good, I'm asking
Oh,
you.
I'm supposed to ask you because I'm the host. Avon, what makes a good villain?
What makes a good villain for me is someone who's really dark, who's going to do something, obviously something bad, but there's a psychological mission behind it. And at the same time, a good villain is just someone that just looks evil. They have to have the look as well. So anyone bad.
Is there any sort of requirement for them to take human life? That seems to be a constant across all.
Actually, no.
All movie villains.
Actually, no. I actually think one of the better villains are the ones who don't, quote unquote, kill anyone, but it kind of does that torture, I would say, lack of a better word.
So this is your way of kind of defending the Creeper in Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about this last year.
Well, I brought it up for our anniversary of 1 year because I brought it up last year. So last year I did Jeepers Creepers 1. Now I'm doing Jeepers Creepers 2. So I love the Jeepers Creepers series. I love the makeup on the monster because it's not like anything of, you know, computer generated or anything. It's literally a person with makeup that looks realistic and everything like that. So I chose a scene from Jeepers Creepers 2 when the monster is seeing its victims on the bus and he's picking out which one he wants. So let's take a look and see how creepy this guy is.
What the hell does it want?
Whatever it is a smell freak. Get that light off.
It was really great makeup effects.
Yes.
It really is. Now, if we're talking about the first one, I enjoyed the first one a little more until you saw the creature.
Until?
I liked all the build up and they make you imagine it in your mind. Sometimes some movies kind of ruins the fun once you see the monster or see you know what's out there insidiously, you know, hunting people.
Well, I think the second one, this is actually a few of the sequel movies, I think the second one was actually better than the first one because he had more victims and there's more characters and you see kind of how the characters work together while in trying to run away from the monster than just two people from the original
Well, and
one.
obviously you know it looks like already in the second one, so they probably don't try and play with it that way like they did in the first one, of like keeping it from you for such a long. Like I don't think you see it until like the very end of the first one, right?
Yeah, that's one of the last
Yeah.
scenes when you actually see his face and his whole body form and everything like that.
Because sometimes it's scarier not knowing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, your next one is not scary whatsoever.
No,
So,
because we're talking about villains, we're not talking about scary movies.
well, villain is scary. So.
Yeah, so once again, I've kind of gone the classics route, because what's always very important to me is you look back at some of the most important movie villains that kind of laid the groundwork for things to come. So when you talk about which villains made history in cinema, I think this is one you definitely can't ignore. It's the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz, right? And so we've all seen it. You've seen it, right?
I've seen it.
Okay, there you go.
Several times.
Probably one of the first movies I probably ever saw,
Yeah.
since I was like really little. And the performance is a classic. It's iconic. This is the scene with the line, I'll get you, my little pretty, and your little dog too. And she had lots of catchphrases, I'm melting, and there were some others. So this is her entrance scene when we first see the Wicked Witch of the West, after the house got dropped on the Good Witch. Let's take a look.
The ruby slippers. What have you done with them? Give them back to me or I'll... It's too late. There they are, and there they'll stay. Give me back my slippers. I'm the only one that knows how to use them. They're no use to you. Give them back to me. Give them back.
Keep tight inside of them. Their magic must be very powerful, or she wouldn't want them so badly.
You stay out of this, Glinda, or I'll fix you as well.
Oh, rubbish. You have no power here. Be gone before somebody drops a house on you, too.
Very well. I'll bide my time. And as for you, my fine lady, it's true, I can't attend you here and now as I'd like. But just try to stay out of my way. Just try. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Witch outfit of the black and the pointed hat and the green face that kind of set the standard for like what a witch looked like for so many decades in movies and for people's costumes.
And it's very simple. Simple goes so far.
And represented in literature and other forms of art. So yeah, I don't think you can overlook the Wicked Witch of the West.
I think Diane was the Wicked Witch of the West last Halloween.
Was she?
I believe she dressed up as the witch last year, if I remember right.
She's some form of a witch this year, except it's like it's a revisioned witch.
Or a retro weird witch.
Gypsy witch.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
So, keeping in your pattern of horror sequels that nobody watched, tell us about your next one.
The next one I have is that you actually chose this character last year, Michael Myers.
I did.
And then actually you enabled me and started me just kind of seek out all his movies.
Good.
And it was, I actually have the whole collection. All the Halloween series, and I chose a scene from the sixth one.
Yeah, why the sixth one?
Well, I feel like everyone's seen the first and second one, and I wanted to pull out one of the ones that maybe no one has seen as much. And the sixth one was actually, I think, a good one. People think that as sequels go on, it gets worse and worse, like the Saw movies. But actually, the sixth one was actually pretty good. But
what's the subtitle of the sixth one? The Return of Michael Myers?
I think it's The Curse of
Michael
Myers. But it's actually pretty good. It's about when this family who's moved into his old house, and then he mysteriously comes back and everything. And talk about simplicity. Just look at his face. The only thing about this character is that he just wears that creepy mask, and then there's no look into his eyes, just like soulless and everything like that. Just a creepy guy that could be standing on the corner that you just never know.
And didn't I say last year that the first Halloween started the whole slasher genre? Yeah.
So let's take a quick look of Paul Rudd, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's in this movie. So let's take a quick look at Ant-Man.
everyone knows you can't kill those people in those movies. Like, why do they even try?
Which I don't
The
understand.
next scene is going to be them like twitching and then getting up, or the the eyes opening.
But since our main focus is on villains, what I do like about this villain is that he just has a very just simplistic take about him. Like I said before, he's just that anybody could be that guy in the mask that can just do anything bad,
Right.
and then kind of has that supernatural thing that he can't die. So that's pretty interesting.
Which I don't know if it's ever explained or not. But how did she get locked in the room?
I believe there was a situation, I haven't seen it in a while, I believe there was a situation where like she had a little brother and then fighting Michael Myers, they blamed it on the sister and then she got locked up and all that.
That was
kind
a
of
horror
crazy
movie
stuff.
trope from that era of movies. Is I couldn't understand why women being chased by men with knives were constantly running into rooms and locking themselves in to a place they couldn't get out of.
True.
Because it always ended up working against them at some point in the script.
The best way to do is being out in the public street screaming at the top of your lungs.
I guess so. So, my next one is not a villain. He was not a person at all.
Okay.
It's definitely a villain, not a person at all. I think that this definitely constitutes a villain because it's the menacing presence of the movie that it's part of. Movie's Jaws.
Okay.
So it's a shark. A little trivia about Jaws is everyone probably knows that it was a mechanical shark that they built, which is really cool because in the era of computer graphics and everything we do now, it's really refreshing to go back and see something that they built from the ground up. Funny story is when they put the shark in the water at Martha's Vineyard where they filmed this movie, it sunk right to the bottom. And they couldn't get it back up. They had to send a team of divers down to pull the shark up. And in most of the scenes, when there's a shark, there's a couple divers underneath of it,
Holding it up.
kind of holding it up. And I think, it's a little dated now. You see the way the shark kind of moves very mechanically. But certainly for its time, this was a terrifying movie and credits a lot of people for being scared to swim in the ocean. My dad was included in one of those, people. So I didn't use a scene from Jaws that is one of the more terrifying scenes, but I used the scene that has like the really iconic line that is probably mostly quoted from this movie.
Okay.
So this is a scene where they've gone out in the boat and they're trying to lay bait to draw the shark towards the ship so they can catch it or shoot it, or they're not quite sure what they're going to do yet because they don't know how big the shark is.
Yeah.
So let's look at a scene from Jaws.
Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
You're going to need a bigger boat. And apparently that line was improvised.
Really?
It wasn't in the script, but he felt like he should say something there. So it was a little cheeky, it was kind of funny, but mostly it was just kind of like, oh, wow.
Well, I will testify to Jaws, and so when I first saw Jaws, I saw it after the movie The Deep Blue Sea. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's another shark movie with great whites.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get in the bathtub. I was so afraid of a shark being in there. Like my parents had to like force me to get in like the bathtub. I wouldn't go swimming or anything at all because of the sharks. Because everyone's scared of sharks and everything like that.
It kind of worked its way into your mind irrationally. I remember being 5 when I first saw Jaws and going to the bathroom and kind of looking down at the water in the toilet and being like, just imagining like a shark
Just coming up and getting you.
coming up and getting me.
Did you ever see the other Jaws movies?
I saw there was like, I'm surprised you didn't choose one. An unnecessary Jaws sequel. No, I didn't. I've never seen them. I think I saw part of the 4th one, and it was kind of just so stupid I turned it off.
I forget which one it was. I believe it was Jaws 3. They were in the water park, and one of the favorite scenes I like there was a scene in the water park, like an aquarium, where they're down deep in the water, and then the people are walking in like a tube underwater.
Oh, that was the 3rd one, I think.
It was the 3rd one, and then the shark just rams right into the little tube and creates this whole crack in the
Chaos.
tube and everything like that. So that was probably one of my favorite scenes from that movie.
Yeah,
being able
feeding
to see
time.
that.
So your next one on the list is, I think, something I
This is one you actually
suggested.
support?
So I support it.
You support this
and
one?
I even suggested it.
Well, the one I have is the Joker. As everyone knows, I'm a
Yeah.
big comic book fan, and my favorite comic book person is Batman. And you cannot love Batman without loving his arch nemesis, the Joker.
Yep.
And like I said earlier about a villain is their kind of psychological torture, and Joker totally wins the prize of being that psychological villain.
And in particular, Heath Ledger's performance as Joker in this, I think, is the best Joker performance.
I would agree.
Even better than Jack Nicholson, I said it. Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things that Jack Nicholson is a classic.
He's
that
classic.
You got to respect it.
Yep.
But Heath Ledger did a really good job as the Joker. You know, in the comic book world, when I went to Comic-Con, the way they kind of break it down is kind of like each actor shows a certain aspect to the Joker. And I think this Joker of the Heath Ledger from The Dark Knight shows more of his psychopathic ways and everything like that. So
Absolutely.
I chose a scene of when the Joker breaks in during a fundraiser. I didn't choose the interrogation scene. I chose when he comes in and he's talking to one of the women and he's kind of telling his story of why he has these scars.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that.
It's a good scene.
Well, you look nervous. Is it the scars? You want to know how I got them? Come here. Hey. Look at me. So I had a wife, she was beautiful, like you, who tells me I worry too much, who tells me I ought to smile more, who gambles and gets in deep with the sharks. Hey. One day they carve her face. We have no money for surgeries. She can't take it. I just want to see her smile again. I just want her to know that I don't care about the scars. So, I stick a razor in my mouth and do this to myself. And you know what? She can't stand the sight of me. She leaves. Now I see the funny side. Now I'm always smiling. A little fight in you. I like that.
Funny story about that scene. I think this movie came out when I was in high school.
Wow.
So I know, really young. So, you know, as a young teenager, I would wear, you know, put like face wash on my face and, you know, it was like white cream. So I would always bother my sister and we would reenact that scene and I would grab her face and I would just say that whole line verbatim. So every time I see that scene, I just think of doing that. And because I love the Joker in comic books, I just have to share, I just read, again, the storyline, Death of the Family, when the Joker comes back from being gone for many years. So he comes back and he leaves his message that he's back. He tears off his face and leaves it at the GCPD police station. And that's his signal to let everybody know that he's back. So he's walking around without a face. And he's just, you know, doing all his stuff again. And he kidnaps all the Bat family and tortures them and everything like that. I just read that over the weekend, so I'm still kind of pumped from it.
Surprisingly, a nice segue into Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh, perfect.
I'm not showing the scene, probably the most terrifying scene in Silence of the Lambs is when he uses somebody else's face to disguise himself. But no, I think that Hannibal Lecter is probably one of the scariest movie villains. Probably one of the best movie villains. That's why he's in my top 3.
I mean, it scared Bob Zykowitz over here. He said it was a scary movie.
And we can already see kind of the influence of his performance going up the ladder. Heath Ledger said he pulled a little bit from Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter when he was doing that version of the Joker. Hannibal Lecter, he's a very proper gentleman who just enjoys eating people. So even when he's speaking with Clarice, he's very reserved and he's very calm and calculated. But he's got like this sinister urge bubbling beneath the surface that's threatening to come out at any moment, and you don't know when that's going to happen. So this scene, and I just love the way he kind of conveys that energy, and you see it in his eyes, and that's about it. And so we're going to see this scene now where he first meets Clarice Starling, played by Jodie Foster. This is one of her bigger roles, really got her going. The first scene where she meets him in prison.
Okay.
Okay.
Sit, please. Now then, tell me, what did Miggs say to you? Multiple Miggs in the next cell. He hissed at you. What did he say?
He said, I can smell your cunt.
I see. I myself cannot. You use Evian skin cream. And sometimes you wear lead on. But not today.
So what'd you think of that?
I'm sorry, not to negate your villain, but every time I think of Silence of the Lamb, I'm sure you've seen the movie Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking of he puts this lotion on its skin in that scene they reference from Silence of the Lamb.
Yes.
So every time I hear that. But Hannibal Lecter is a very creepy villain, I will agree, because I remember when I watched it, I didn't get more scared, but like you said, he was a very composed villain. And actually I think that those are the most dangerous villains out there. You know, it's one thing to have a person that's obviously bad, but then you can tell in his mind he thinks he's doing nothing wrong.
Well, what's scary about Hannibal Lecter is the way he could blend in. It looked like a normal guy.
Exactly.
At a dinner party, you know, at an upscale dinner party for that matter. He's just not thinking about the filet mignon on the menu. He's thinking about the guy sitting next to him.
Yeah, think about how much he would taste good, you know, barbecued or however way he likes to do it. But speaking of composed villains,
I just wiped my face because I'm sweating in this suit and I forgot I had green face paint on. And now I've like smeared
well, that
it.
happened when I was driving to work today. I scratched my eyes and I was like, oh God, now I can't see because you know I got the face
So
mask.
I gotta watch what I touch now.
Be careful. But speaking of composed villains, I have from Breaking Bad. It's not a movie, but it's a TV show that's very good. Breaking Bad is about old high school teacher who was a chemistry high school teacher who finds out he has cancer. And so in order to kind of support his family when he dies, he turns to using his chemistry knowledge to make meth.
Yeah.
So he becomes a drug dealer. So he gets involved with this very big drug lord, and this drug lord named Gus Fring. He's like a very composed villain. He's very smart, intelligent, and he laundries his money through having various chicken joints across the, I think it was just the state. I don't know how big it expanded to, but he was very well known for his chicken restaurants and everything. And so the scene, I have to say, I did meet Gus Fring at Comic-Con.
Oh, you did?
I did. It was really awesome.
Cool.
I'm actually sad. The picture I took with him, I literally like went to tie my shoe, and as soon as I looked up, they took the picture.
Oh, no.
So I couldn't even like smile or
So
anything.
you got some picture where you're like,
Exactly. I'm just looking like I really didn't want to be in it.
well, he's another villain that hides in plain sight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he actually works with the police officers and the DEA and everything like that, so he hides in plain sight. So the scene I chose is when Walter, the main character, he has crossed Gus, and Gus has to assert his authority. So let's see Gus in action as the villain.
You're too smart. You can't afford to do this. Please, let us just go back to work. We're here. Let us, we're ready to go to work. We'll just pick up right where we left off.
And having seen that show in its entirety, which I think is the best show ever made, I will say you really edited that scene down to make it a lot less bloody than it actually was in the show.
Yes, it was a very gruesome.
That was good.
Gruesome scene, and I will say, even just from seeing that, I remember watching it for the first time, and what struck me as being scared of Gus was just how silent he was.
Yeah.
That entire like 10 minutes of really how long that scene is was from when he first entered until he left. 10 minutes straight.
Well,
no
you saw
words.
it on his face there after he kind of committed the murder, was how cool he was with the whole thing. And that's kind of what we're saying is the most terrifying thing about the best movie villains is the psychological aspect of what is going through their mind, or maybe what's not going through their mind.
Exactly, because you can't really predict where they're going to go or what they're going to do.
Exactly.
All right, what's your next one?
All right, another classic movie villain moment. All right, super classic. I think that when you're thinking about movie villains, this is on everybody's list.
Of course.
Darth Vader.
I will agree.
Yep, Darth Vader. James Earl Jones did the voice, and they had a bodybuilder do the physical aspect, and they dubbed in James Earl Jones' voice. This line in Empire Strikes Back is also, if we did another list about best movie twists, this scene would also be in there. But nonetheless,
and I think other movies steal it all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's highly parodied and everything. Apparently, this scene was written into the script differently.
Okay.
Until the day of shooting, they handed new pages to both the actors. So apparently, it was like 2 minutes before they rolled cameras, they handed Mark Hamill, said, he's going to say this instead, so we need you to say this. And the shock on his face during this scene is actually still real because he's still trying to process this like new direction of the story. He just found out everything is going. So I think I'm not spoiling anything by saying this is when Darth Vader reveals that he's Luke's father. But this is also like what makes Darth Vader. He's not really a creepy villain, let's be honest.
He's not.
Kind of a intimidating villain is the father-son aspect. It adds this whole new like kind of wow element to it. So here's the scene, classic scene from Empire Strikes Back. Luke, I am your father. Let's take a look.
Escape. Don't make me destroy you. Luke, you do not yet realize your importance. You have only begun to discover your power. Join me, and I will complete your training. With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy.
I'll never join you!
If you only knew the power of the dark side. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
I got a little technical on this. I was thinking during this clip of what I meant by making him Luke's father, making him a little bit more of an intimidating villain. I think what I was trying to clarify is before he finds out Darth Vader is his father, he's this villain that maybe one day he could kill and just sort of be done with him. But finding out that Vader is your father, I think it makes him an even better villain now because there's this element of inescapability to it. It's just like, even if I kill you, I will know that you were my father. And I killed you, but...
It's the moral aspect of, do I kill my dad?
Well, that too. But it's like Vader will always be with him even if he's dead.
And I will say, I like Star Wars, but I'm not the hugest fan of Star Wars. But the first Star Wars I ever saw was Star Wars 1, Phantom
Menace. The bad ones.
Yeah. And I will always appreciate Darth Maul. I mean, that's who I like. Darth Maul is my favorite villain from Star Wars. Darth Vader is nice and everything, but Darth Maul will always be my Star Wars villain because that was the first one I ever saw.
Darth Maul was the only redeeming quality of that movie, I think. The double lightsaber. Yeah. And for any Star Wars geeks, the Star Wars prequel that's coming out this December, Darth Vader's going to be in it.
Oh, really?
Yep. So we get to see him again.
Oh, okay. He's back.
Yep. Anyway, we're on a roll.
All right. So the next one I chose is actually probably, I don't know if I mentioned it last year, which I don't think I did because, anyways, as the character is this demon from this movie called Insidious. So Insidious is about, I don't know how familiar you are with astral projection, and it's about when people go to sleep, their spirits are able to leave their bodies and go into the astral world or the spiritual world and kind of wander around. And so this child who's able to do so, he kind of wanders off too far in the spiritual world and can't get back to his body. And so now the other spirits are wanting to take over his body. And so the main villain is this demon who's like counting down the days until he is allowed to take hold of the take hold of the child's body. And so now it's the dad. He has that ability to astral project, and so he's going into the spiritual world to get his son back. So typically I don't really like too many demon movies, but what I liked about this movie was just the fact that it had a great storyline to it, something that had logical points to it, and then I love the music that they use for it. For me, for anything to be scary, that it has to have good music and good sound effects, because just because something came out the corner doesn't scare you. It's that music behind it that goes boom that scares you.
I know what you mean. It sounds almost like a really great episode of the original series of The Twilight Zone.
Never seen the
called
Twilight Zone.
It's called Little Girl Lost, and she slips into another dimension when she's sleeping, and the dad has to go in after her and get her back. I wonder if it's an influence at all. We'll have to see, because the Twilight Zone did influence a lot of future sci-fi and horror movies.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. And yeah, it's a really good movie. So the scene I have is the dad has finally found the son in the spiritual world, and so you're going to see the demons trying to attack him as, you know, he's trying to rescue his son. So let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay. It's okay. Listen to me. Look at me. None of this is real, okay? This is not real. Look at me. Look at my eyes, buddy. None of this is real. We're gonna go home, okay? You gotta help me. Here's what.
Oh my God, Dad. He is looking.
Stay here, baby. Come on, stay with us.
So we're all going to learn German while we watch that.
Well, I have to apologize. That was the only clip I can find on YouTube that actually had the full scene that I wanted to show and the parts I wanted to show with it. So it wasn't the best quality. It had the subtitles, but at least the audience is able to get a kind of gist of the movie and everything.
Yeah, no,
like
I definitely
that.
understand. YouTube. Okay, so we're going a little over, so we got to blow right into my number one pick. Another classic movie villain, Norman Bates in Psycho. I think we all know why. This is the scene where we finally get to meet who Mother really is. So let's take a look.
Mrs. Bates.
And ever since this movie, the whole multiple personality disorder villain has been kind of overdone, and it's a cliche now. I don't think anyone touches it anymore. But that was pretty much the first, where there was like a split personality, and it was like the other personality that took over and was the one killing everybody.
Seeing this now, and multiple times I've seen it before, I still have the same feeling of why would you scream? You know, like you brought attention to yourself. Like, why would you scream? Like, anyways.
Because you needed it to go with the music cue.
I guess.
So anyway, this was fun as always.
Yep.
And I got to get the announcements done so I can get this jacket off so I don't die